want a contract.
We want a contract.
We want it now.
We want it now.
Let me hear you all right.
Now I'd like to introduce Karen Lewis, President of the Chicago Teachers Union. And I'd just like to say to Karen and to all the other people at the union who are working so hard, all the teachers who are members of the union, that as parents we really appreciate how hard they are working to make our schools better. Thank you.
I have two teachers with me today. One is a former student from Sullivan who is now teaching. The other is the daughter, it's my daughter, of my mother's best friend. My mother and my mother's best friend were both teachers in Chicago public schools.
38 years.
38 years. And Kathy Brown has decided, after having an excellent education at Mount Holyoke College, to dedicate herself to the children of Chicago public schools. Katie, still Brownstone, right? Or is this Brownstone still?
Brownstone still.
All right, I know her as Katie Brownstone. Again, how many years do you have in now?
10 years.
10 years in. One of my former students. We make a difference. We make a difference every single day. And we are all here because contract negotiations are not moving the way they should. We've made very limited progress. We have had 45 sessions. 45 sessions. Very few contracts take that long to come to agreement on. We want a comprehensive contract that puts students and educators first, not the administrators, not this chaos that runs this building. This is about strengthening our district and being able to provide our students with a 21st century education. Yes. People don't want to hear that. People do not want to hear that. But in this summer of murder and homicide and chaos, we have in this city for 400,000 children 370 social workers. No one should think that that is okay. No one in this city should think that's tolerable. We have an interim agreement, but of course, the longer school day, because that's what it is, it's still not a better day. The longer school day has been implemented haphazardly and ridiculously across the system. Where we offered this interim agreement in February, the board did not want to take it until it was at the absolute last minute, because that's how they do everything. Flying by the seat of their pants at the last minute, and we wonder why this district is in chaos, but it is much easier to blame the people that actually do the work. None of us wants a strike. None of us. None of us wants a strike. But I will say this, if it is necessary to do so, we will. Teachers, paraprofessionals, and clinicians want to be in the classrooms with their students. They don't want to worry about how they're going to pay their bills. They don't want to worry about what's going to happen to their health care. They don't want to worry about these things. But you cannot have a world-class education if you put students and teachers last. Sorry, you cannot have that. So what are we doing? We are informationally picketing all the tracking schools. Those schools are being picketed by our brothers and sisters who are working in the track R schools. We will come to the aid of our brothers and sisters, and we are hearing the stories about the chaos that these people here create out in the schools. When if we could have a planful way of doing things, then we could have that better day. There are schools that still did not hire art, music, world language, computer technology teachers, and counselors are doing lunchroom and recess duty. Counselors. Again, this is about how do you use the resources you have? Do you use them appropriately? And unfortunately, that's not what's happening here. Librarians have been told they will not have time to process books. How do you run a library without having time to restack the shelves, process new books coming in, and deal with them? And they've been told they will not have time to do this. All for a so-called full school day. It is not a better school day yet. And if we leave it just up to these guys, it will never be a better school day. The board should listen to the people who do the work, and we will do what we have to do. Thank you. Not yet. I mean, we're still hoping to see. We have not gotten any substantive discussion with the board on things that are really needed to be dealt with. So, well, we haven't heard a thing about pay. They're still stuck on their compensation that's built in with merit pay. We're not interested in that. We have explained that. They want pay that does not acknowledge experience in our teachers and their educational attainment. So we're not interested in that either. So eventually they will tell us. We don't have a drop-dead date.
Well, how late is too late? Because
well,
they could drag this on forever.
Look, they could, absolutely. But I will tell you, our mothers walk picket lines in December and January. So, I mean, it's not about when. There's no timeline on this. We're going to do what we can to have a good faith negotiation to try to get a contract.
The board, most of the board say that you guys are the ones who are stalling and not seriously negotiating. It just seems like both of you are saying the same thing in response to their claim that you all are stalling.
All right, so what else are they going to say? That we're stalling? Why would we be stalling when we've given them proposal after proposal? We've told them what we're interested in. They keep saying no to us. So I don't know what stalling means. What? Stalling means we're just supposed to get up and walk away? We're not going to do that. We're at the table bargaining in good faith.
What specifically do you want that they're not giving you? You can kind of just
All right,
outline that for us.
so
What do you want?
we would like to have a fair compensation package that includes acknowledgement of our teachers' experience and their educational attainment. That's number one. Number two, our health care that they're asking us will eat up any of their little bitty tiny minuscule raise that they are offering. So we will end, and we're still working longer. This is not a swap out. We're still working longer. So basically we'll be owing the board money. So their compensation package is not acceptable. Their health care problem, they have an increase for families and for couples that they want. They have a wellness package that they want that is all stick and no carrot. So, I mean, these are problematics in terms of the major compensation sticking, and we want our staff in schools to do what they need to do. We have schools in crises that are not appropriately staffed. Those are things we need to have. We want to guarantee the better day. So I don't know why that is so difficult.
CPS claims that you guys are making some progress, both sides, and showing significant progress. You guys are going to reach an agreement by September.
We're going to reach an agreement. I don't know about their deadline, but we will have a contract. That is something that we will have. So it's how they want to do it. Do they want to do it hard, or do they want to do it easy? It's up to them.
Are you going to ask for delegates today to vote on attending?
We have not set the agenda for the House meeting.
Karen, you mentioned that they have a lot of places haven't hired the music teachers and the art teachers that you want. Where does the hiring from the interim agreement stand at this point?
We don't know. We're actually looking to find that out. They have those data. We don't just automatically get those data about who's hired and who isn't.
Have you heard anything from members?
We've heard people from members that saying they've applied to several jobs and they have not been hired. Jesse?
Look, one of the things that we're hearing is that the way the interim agreement is being implemented is a real problem. And frankly, the question of if the board can promise a better day and not deliver it, that means that we need guarantees in our contract when we settle the real contract that the day is actually going to be better. Because otherwise what we get is we get an inferior educational product that's just longer. Well, I'll give an example. I mean, we have examples of schools where students are being asked to come an hour earlier so they have a longer day, but the first hour of the day is club time, where they don't have a real teacher, they don't have a real class, but they're doing a club activity. Or where they added recess, but they're spending recess in their third grade room, sitting there because there's no recess facility and no one to actually supervise recess. And so until we get some real guarantees that are in our collective bargaining agreement about how this is going to look in practice, we're not going to take the board's word for it that this is really better. Right now, it just looks longer to us.
Right. There's not a real significant movement to making things quality.
Do you feel like that interim agreement's not working the way you hoped it would when you reached it?
Well, one of the problems is, again, it was a very last-minute decision on the part of the board to listen to what we have been focusing on since February. We contend that if they would listen to the solutions that we want to present, a lot of this stuff could be fixed because it really isn't rocket science. But by the time it gets swirled around here, what comes out in the schools is something completely different.
Today they're voting on a budget that doesn't include those steps of rate, those experience raises. Does that concern you that they...
No, because they'll just have to find that money from somewhere else. A budget's a plan. It's not set in stone. So whatever their budget is, and if that's where they end up with, then we will see some movement somewhere else.
Okay, we have time for 3 more questions.
There's plenty of money available in this board where they want to choose to put it. So if they choose to not fund some vendors and some outside people, then they can choose that. Depends on where their moral strength is and their decision about what they want their schools to look like.
If the board wants to give a 2% raise, is there any specific percentage that you are all asking for to counter that, or is it like...
Yeah, well, remember what the fact finders report said that they thought was really good? The fact finder suggested a 14.85% raise. So we realize they don't have that kind of money, but 2% is unacceptable. It is not acceptable. The increases they want in the insurance alone will eat up into that. And so will the longer day. So basically, as I said before, we would like to hear something other than 2%, so that would help. But we're not going to negotiate that in the press, sorry.
Explain why you're working a longer day if it's still a 7-hour workday.
Its instructional time has increased, yes, and so has the year. So though that's more time.
Okay, I'm sorry, that was the last question
We need to go into. Thank you very much.